Now, an interesting thing I'm going to say here is that I did take this leg that I made, or at least part of this leg. No, I did take the all the most of the hinge part of it, and I transferred over to blades because I actually made a hip joint. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Power Workshop. It is I, that fire you cannot put out, Techno Meow Tinkerer. And today we're going to do a time-lapse video, and I'm going to create a specific transformer. He is the leader of the Protectobots, member of the Autobots, Hotspot. And let's get on into the video. Now here you see I have originally created him once already, and this was just a very basic one I did a while back. And I have found actually the patent design on one of the toy websites that deal with vintage toys, I think they now call these. Kind of makes you feel old. And so this actually was a lot more helpful than the actual figure I have. Now, have you seen I had a little short I did about how to turn a picture into a 3D image real quickly using AI. I had used that figure, which was a knockoff figure. Well, not really well, it's kind of a knockoff. It was one that was released that Big Lots had years ago. And they said that's the closest thing I ever had to Protectobots was that cheap Big Lots version. I say cheap because some of the plastic is flimsy and a few pieces have broken. But here I'm right now just working on trying to create the torso. And it's really a lot of this was really trying to figure out how I want to do things and trying to clean up some mess. And I spent over 15 hours making him. Now that's 15 plus because even though I recorded most of it, there was times I didn't record because I'm sitting there trying to figure out what I want to do. And that's mainly what I was doing here. Is a lot of it was experimentation, trying to figure out how do I want to create the shapes. And I think there's a few things I didn't know, and I learned along the way making this. And there's a few things I had forgotten that I had to remind myself of doing this. Now I didn't go through creating all the detail on the side, and I kind of wish I didn't do some of the detail because later on I kind of didn't realize that part of this piece is actually the waist of the character, and even though I created a separate waist piece later. Now I did a very basic form of this, of trying to create this little chest piece for when he's in robot mode. And I do have a few ideas. I have not really gone in. I did kind of leave me some space when I'm making him to use him for defense shore, but I have not gone in and actually figured out exactly how I'm going to do all the defense shore because if you remember Blades, I was sitting there trying to work out. I may have to do some slight modification between Hotspot and the other Protectobots to make it work. You know, I've been toying with some of that idea. Now imagine what would happen if I actually learned how to do some stuff. And I wish I kind of knew at the time how to separate objects. I don't fully remember because I only did it a few times. But it would have been a lot quicker and easier to do than trying to do what some of the stuff I've done here. And of course I didn't remember the fill tool till later on. So what I do is will probably create some tutorials on how to do that stuff. Mainly to help me remember. That's one thing I learned when I was tutoring fractions in adult ed. We had to go through a training course, and if you really want to learn something, you teach it. That is the highest retention rate, I should say, of the information is teaching it to others. Lectures are the least. I think like you only remember 5% of what was being taught of is pure lecture. And that seems like that's all the schools want to do is lecture, lecture, lecture. Audio videos, kind of like this. It's like, I can't remember, was it 10 or 15? It's not much more than lecture. But discussion and teaching. And there was another one, I forgot what the third one was, that's the top, but I've always focused on the teaching part. It's one reason I do some of my tutorials is to help me learn and remember what to do, as well as to share the information with some of the others. And oh yeah, here's where I was trying to create the waist. And like I said, I didn't realize it, even though I was looking at the figure here on my desk, that the what I consider the torso part was also the waist. And like I said, I was trying to create a few things. I'm actually holding off on creating the hose. I think I want to do some research. There is some ways on how to go about doing it. Hey, you can see me using the bevel tool and bridge tool. No, it's the bridge tool, not bevel. But I do want to research it. I think there's a way you can actually make curved pipes and maybe hoses. That'd be better than me trying to do it. If you watched my blade video, you saw me trying to make the curves of the landing. I don't know if it's landing gear or what they call it on. I need to look that up on the helicopters. But trying to do that did not turn out too well. So I want to research how to. I've seen some videos. I need to go find them on how to do those curves. Because one thing I'm going to have to do with the hose is I don't want to just let that one flat piece. I want to actually make it more like it would be like how you would see an actual water hose or fire hose wrapped around. Now I'll tell you one thing, the bridge tool did help out a lot in some of these areas when I was connecting some stuff. Yeah, making this. I did play with the Boolean tool, actually making this around, trying to learn it a little bit. Especially when I got up to trying. I realized on some of the parts I really didn't really need to use it because it didn't really work. Yeah, right there as I was trying to do the Boolean, but I could have just used join. But now the part up here where I'm working, I actually had to work on the Boolean tool. I used the Boolean tool because I was trying to cut out the hole for the peg to go through for the ladder. And it actually took some time of trying to figure out which orientation I need to have everything. As you see here, I'm trying things, testing things. Yeah, it took me some time for the orientation of it. Now, one thing I did, I made the one thing I probably may want to do sometime in the future, see what if I can do it, is actually create the rim using the bevel tool instead of a separate piece. Same thing with the front, not the middle tire. Use the bevel to actually create the not rim. Was it fender? I think it's fender. Yeah, there was a couple some stuff I ended up. I forgot to take the auto merge off at a certain thing. I left it default on because I'm always wanting to clean up some of my lines, and it kind of made some. I didn't see it till later on. Maybe that's. I ended up doing most of the build like this, showing the normals, whether the blue and red. That way I can kind of know where everything's at, and it's actually working this way. You see gaps a lot easier doing this way, and it also lets you know the face orientation, so you know. Yeah, I had to sit there and rebuild some parts and create a little thing for the tire. I think I ended up using the bevel to smooth that out later. That's one thing about having the actual figure in hand. I was able to actually look at it and see how they had some stuff, so I can recopy some things, but I did want to change some stuff around. And like one of the things I did is I did something different with the feet than they have here. So as you can see the figure, they have the foot just hanging off the bottom. Didn't really want that catches. You already run the risk of that with the chest plate as is. And so what I decided to do is have the foot transform into the rear bumper. And later on when I went to color them and transform them into different forms, you kind of get to see some of the detail I add. Oh yeah, I'm trying to create this. Now, I probably didn't have to join the pieces together like this, but I wanted to be one piece instead of multiple pieces. And I'd like to find, I think there might be an easier way to do this, but I can't remember. I thought I saw it one time. I may have to find it back, or maybe when I go to start eliminating tutorials, I might come across it. Yeah, I figured make the foot part of the rear bumper. That way, it's a good way to kind of hide the foot at the same time, actually creating a rear bumper. Because I don't think there is actually one on the toy. Which part? Oh yeah, I'm getting ready to make the legs here. Trying to copy, um, doing on the hinges. Now, an interesting thing I'm going to say here is that I did take this leg that I made, or at least part of this leg. No, I did take the all the most of the hinge part of it, and I transferred over to blades because I actually made a hip joint. As you can see there, I actually made just the hip joint where the leg can move out as well as back and forth. And one reason I ended up making it because I was trying to figure out how to make it where I could still, if I want to use them as defense shore, I could still do it. And I didn't realize when I made this I just made the almost a complete hip joint where the body actually has a ball joint that can do a lot of stuff. This way I can kind of get almost that similar type of movement. Because I did copy, like I said, some of the actual toy and some of the designs, but I wanted it to be a little bit more mobility than what the toy was offering. Because the toy don't have a kneecap, and it really don't have the hip hinge where you can move the hip forward. It only can move it to the side. Because I originally thought I was going to have to actually turn a joint, but when I realized doing it this way, I might still have to turn a joint. But at least this gives me kind of a starting point. Like I said, because he has no. I didn't turn to it. I just remember I added that joint down in the leg that so it can rotate there. Oh yeah, now this was one of the things that gave me the problem in a sense that it took me a while to figure out exactly what I do. I created this side of the cab, but I really couldn't find this particular fire engine. It's a Mitsubishi Fuso ladder truck, not fire engine, but really a ladder truck. I believe is what it is, but I could not find this model because I was trying to figure out exactly. I'm looking at the toy, but I'm trying to figure out what is actually the door. Because it looks like the middle one might be the door. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm trying to figure out. So I just winged some of that. Oh, yeah, bring the hand in. Oh, I didn't realize I had to that in. And I didn't find out until later on how to actually flip all of those without having to select each individual ones. There is a way, and I kind of wish I knew it when I did my flip normals video. Because I could have included that in. No, yeah, getting ready to inner arm. Yeah, because I had to sit there and try to decide. I was trying to decide between having the cab break apart, have it kind of stick out with the arms hanging down, or just have it jointed like I'm doing right now. And it did take me a while to try to figure out how to do every little part of how I want to do. Because one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure the arm, I had to make sure the arm was long enough, and then we'll see a little later on. I actually had to break the upper arm up into two pieces so they could slide apart. Oh yeah, do the joint here between the cab and the body of the truck. And I ended up just joining these. I didn't bother going through and trying to hook every little dot up. I probably should have. Make it one piece. And yeah, trying to, yeah. Now I did eventually bring my avatar into the cab to make sure that I could trying to fit. I need to make sure I got the size. The closest thing I could find the actual width of this thing, or at least a rough. I think it's like 6 feet 9 inches. So I need to actually go in and make sure I get close to that as far as to use that. There I am sitting. And I kind of was doing this because one of the things I was wanting to do, since I got the arm there, is I'm trying to figure out how to hide the arm from the cab. And so I ended up making a kind of like a little, not really a shelf, but a sort of a divider. Oh yeah, I'm sitting here trying to clean up. I'm trying to make this into, as best I can, into possibly a seat in the back so you can house another fire officer. Oh yeah, here's where I'm making trying to make the upper arm where it can slide by dividing it into two pieces and creating a hollow thing. There is a way to actually add thickness to a shape without having to use extrude. That's another thing I need to learn how to do. But I couldn't remember what it was called or where to go look. Now, I was originally going to just place the arm to the cab of a hinge. Then I realized that did not give me full movement of the arm. Yeah, trying to clean up some of the stuff because one of the things I do want to do in right here, I ended up making was part of the front. Now I'm leaving that part of the front open because the toy they usually have the hands as part of the grill of the front, and I didn't want that. Yeah, here's where I was making the little compartment to separate the cab from the actual arm. Cleaning some of that up some. And as I was using, I don't know if if I couldn't use the fill tool or I had to use I think I had to use a combination of two. And now here is where I actually add another joint to the upper arm so I can create that movement. Now, what doing it one reason I did this was I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate the ability for them to combine together if I want to actually explore that. And I thought about why instead of having Blade's head come down to form the joint, how about have this arm, since the way I made it, stick out in a way where it can connect to Blades or any of the other Scramble City combiners to form this way. And I need to remember I did this for Hotspot so I can do this for Onslaught and some of the other combiners. Oh yeah, trying to make the light up there by just combining a cylinder and a dome. Yeah, sitting here working, trying to make sure everything looks get little spaces. I probably actually need to design a seat to actually go in the cab here for the character. What's that? Oh, yeah, the toy actually has a base mode where they have these repair arms come out, and I didn't want to just them have to appear out of nowhere, so I actually had designed them to be housed within the cab. And so that's what I was working on here, is trying to create a down here actually joined the joints. I probably should have copied this and reused it in some of theirs since I spent all the time making it. But I made the joints, and I sit here and play around trying to figure out how I want to make sure I can get them to move and turn. And so there's a few of where I did hinge joints like this, and there's a few where I did the rotation joint. That way the arm can kind of rotate. I sit here and I played around, making sure that I can get everything to fit kind of close. I wanted some of these joints close together. Yeah, here's where I was trying to make the rotation. I did here too as well. I just figured have it in a few spots. It's easy to make, so might as well have it in a few spots just to help. And it'll give more mobility because these are repair arms. And so when he goes into his base mode, these can just fold out of the cab. Also, I thought about it because the way I designed it, I could actually use where they could still fold out, and you can use them like to put out fires or as a type of weapon if need be in robot mode. Yeah, I went and carried the extrude all the way back. I may not have needed to carry it so far back, but I figured I just want to go ahead and do it. Try to get it close to the top. Now, what I did is I did make a hinge flap here, and after later on I said I probably didn't really need a double hinge. I just need to put a hinge actually on the flap, but oh well, live and learn. But no, I was actually trying to create a flap system that folds down in truck mode, so it kind of goes down beside the arm and then folds up in base and robot mode so it hides the cab. I didn't really carry it to the full extent of the design of the cab because one of the things I kind of need to do, and I hadn't done yet, was actually create the windows. Now I'm actually creating the windows. This is where I learned how to, this is where I actually use the separate tool. And I probably will do a video on that too so I can remember. No, I learned later on. Actually, this what I had to do is this, and this is a tedious and long process, just deleting and filling in. I did use, but I did learn later on how to separate objects, and that kind of helped. Right now, I'm working on the front grill fender flap. I don't know what you would call it on the front of the truck that I will have rolled out. Now, I think I thought I did. I probably did it for the door here. I can't remember. I thought I incorporated the separate tool, separate object. But yeah, there's where I think yeah, that's the thing where I had incorporated, and I just had to fill in some of this stuff. And that actually helps a lot better than having to sit there and delete everything and make duplicates. Yeah, this is where I was going to try to, I actually thought about making them all a joint. And I just like, nah, I just didn't feel like doing it right now. I mean, this hotspot is far from complete. There's still a lot more detail I need to work on. One thing I didn't realize when I made a lot of these hinge joints is that when I went to parenting, I tried to parent them to one hinge joint, so that would be the master joint as well as the object, and I didn't realize until later on doing some research on trying to color things, multiple objects at one time, that I could just, if the hinge joints like the ones there on the front flap and the side and the one that's over the arm, since they're the same bitting the same way and they're not going to do anything, join them together. That way they're all work on the same rule. Go through, do some of the cleaning up. Oh yeah, here making the ladder. Now, I decided to do something slightly different. I did look at some of the toys, and one of the I was debating between actually adding a hinge joint, but I decided against adding a hinge joint. And so what I did is just made each. It's originally 3 sections ladder, so I divided all 3 sections up into a total of 6 sections altogether. That way, I can get the full extent of the ladder. But at the same time, I could collapse it enough for when he's in robot mode and possibly even in combiner mode as not get in the way. Because anybody who's had the toy, the ladder is so long that it does work as support for the toy standing up. And with the Big Lots brand, it comes with a bucket, and the bucket gets in the way. I don't know really what these are supposed to be. I don't know if they're really supposed to be lights or water. Not really water. Water cannons maybe. That's right. So I made them kind of like lights right now. I can always go back, and it wouldn't be nothing to turn those into water cannons. I just have to do an extrude inward. And one thing is, I kind of went ahead and a lot of the stuff I did join. Now here was the face. I sitting here trying to draw all Hotspot's face. Now he has 2 different faces in the American cartoon, but I think if I remember correctly, the American started I think with a mouth and then went just with the faceplate. And I think the Japanese stuck the faceplate was. I think this is what the toy has, is just a faceplate. He didn't have a mouth. The nose, little question about is actually how it's supposed to be. I was going off of I think a fan art because it's the only picture I ever could find of a decent shot without having to go through hours of the Japanese footage. And I'm sitting here trying to adjust it with just looking at a picture, really no real guide to go with on the depth of everything. But the fill tool did come in handy. I did merge some stuff trying to get some things cleaned up. I actually had to go back and kind of redo some stuff because for some reason loop cuts did not want to work, and I don't know the reason why. Trying to make the top of the head, I ended up using the bevel tool because it does have a slight curve to the top of his head in a couple spots. Sitting there trying to clean things up because I want to do, yeah, that's where it's like I was trying to do the loop cut, and for some reason it didn't want to do it a certain way. because he does have that little I don't know what you call it, a crest piece or what, sitting there and like I said, the fill tool that's come quite in handy. Now these, I don't know really what it is on the side. I kind of have it slightly hollow in the case I want to use it for something, and I just move them into place because I'm not quite sure. Now I did create the base. I should have created the net where it could turn, but I didn't do that at the time. I just created it right now where I could fit it into slot. And that's pretty much me creating Hotspot. But wait, we got a surprise for everybody. Booyah, there he is, all nice and colored as a truck. As you can kind of see there, there's the flaps that go up for the cab. We got the arms are pretty well decently hitting. I do need to create a specifically a hand for him. I'm just using my default robot hand for now. I am going to do the windows, but that's going to be a separate video. It's going to be a tutorial because there's actually a couple different ways to do glass. Oh yeah, get back here so you can kind of see how I didn't do it with Hotspot, but if we look over here, I do have another one. I have Fire Chief, and you can see I did a chrome bumper. But wait, I don't just have Fire Chief, I also have Pyra Magna. And yes, I end up using her. I end up going ahead and do a color scheme with her because I think she's supposed to be an alien fire truck. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not familiar with the Rush Warriors that much. And there's not much imagery I have found, at least not of a good imagery, of her to really base stuff off of. So I kind of had to guess at somehow I would do the color scheme work for if I was to do a recolor of Hotspot, because she's a combiner. She seems to be like a fire, and they did use one of Hotspot's toys in one. I don't know which one. I don't know if it was the Combiner Wars or what. They kind of just did a repaint and a slight retool of her. But this is not the only thing we have. We got some more. Let's go and see. I don't want to save that. We got them in base mode. As you can see, right how all the arms stick out, and kind of in the base mode a bit. So now if I do Metroplex, he's got he's got plenty of each one could take turns being a repair bay. There's still, like I said, some work, and you'll really tell it when we go into bot mode. How the torso is a little too tall on all of these. The waist is kind of a little too thin, and really this part right here about in this area is the actual waist. And as you can see, the hands, they look kind of, I didn't make a plate for them, but they kind of a little skimpy considering the size. So I'm going to have to sit here and probably design actual hand. I didn't spend time yet to make actual face for Pyra Magna. Her facial design is totally different, but I just did a recolor right now. I'll probably come back to her later after I do some more retooling of the actual Hotspot default body, and just copy some stuff on over. And there's Fire Chief, who was part of Scramble City set. He was another he was a recolor. I forgot. I don't know the full story. Did the bumpers? Yeah, you can kind of see I didn't do the chrome on this. That's because I did. I actually transformed these guys into bot form. I did base to bot to truck, because actually I did something earlier just to check and make sure some of the stuff was transforming right. And there's a few little origin points I needed to properly adjust, especially like right here on the arms. The arms one is right there, and I kind of need to move that, but if I go to move it's going to move everything else, and so I'm going to have to unparent stuff and reparent, or I have to readjust everything. But for the most part, as you can see how I got the ladder where they can collapse now on the back, so it don't get in the way too much. I do have to make the head for the combiners. I have not done that yet. And matter of fact, you can kind of tell it when we go back into base mode here, because the head for the combiner usually hides the actual bot head. In case of Pyromagnet would hide her head there. Same thing with Hotspot and Fire Chief. And so I gotta sit there and decide actually how I'm going to do that. If I'm going to be using these as combiners. If not, I can just extend the base of that out. I kind of like the way they look in their. I kind of like how they kind of turn out when they in their base mode. I actually redesigned the. When I go to do the glass, it'd be interesting. I could actually redesign it where I could put a panel in the background so these can be popping up statistics or stats of whatever it's working on. Well, that's pretty much it for let me get come on switcher. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode of Digital Paul Workshop. I hope this some of you found this a little interesting with me droning on, but it might give some of y'all some ideas on how to go about doing some of the stuff that you're working on. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe and share it with anyone you think might find this interesting. Have a nice day.